A big thank you to Jero for sponsoring today's video on Patreon. Galadriel, Light of Valinor versus Frodo and Sam, Thrasios and Timna, and a Nixia. One lander with a Sylvan Library is tempting. If that was any other mana dork, I'd go for it, but we will mulligan. Okay, plenty of mana dorks there, so yeah, along with the lands, I think this is a good keeper. Only problem is we can end up running out our hand and emptying our hand straight into a board wipe, so just have to keep our fingers crossed still. Alright, drawing 2 Polluted Delta, which is a good means of colour fixing. The vast majority of the deck is green, but we do have some splashes of blue and white in here. Okay, awesome. We've already had someone scoop. Didn't particularly want to play against Thrasios and Timna for the 100th time, so if anyone was going to scoop early, I'd rather it with that player. Frodo, Adventurous Hobbit, coming into play, and we are up against Terax here, a patron of the channel, so do appreciate Terax supporting monetarily. Alright, getting into Llanowar Elves a turn early, or a turn too late I should say. We'll play the Priest of Titania, try and get into our commander as soon as we can. Do still need to find another piece of coloured mana. White or blue will do to get into the Galadriel. And just need to remember to ban this player. Sithis into play for a Nixia, so yeah, you'll expect typical Enchantress builds with that commander. And now the next commander, Sam, Loyal Attendant. And the 1-3 turns in sideways towards us. Obviously not going to block. And there we see Devoted Druid, which goes well with the plus counter shenanigans. Might as well play Llanowar Elves because it's free with the Priest of Titania. And then we can go for a Forest into Devoted Druid. Will give us 3 creatures, meaning we can tap that down for 3 and get down the Circle of Dreams Druid. So we'll have a surplus of green mana to do stuff with here, but might be a slight issue that we don't have the bank colours we need to get into our commander. Don't really want to play more creatures until we can get Galadriel into play. Jaheira into play for the food player. And speaking of which, Sam makes a food at the beginning of combat, cracking one of the foods for 3 life, and Frodo turns in at the Enchantress player, and I imagine Sam comes in at us as a 2-4. Alright, an island or a plains would be excellent here. Okay, I'll take that. That's a Farhaven Elf, so we can fix our colours with that. Might as well drop the Ancient Tomb. I suppose we could have saved it for landfall with Evolution Sage, but I don't think it matters. Alright, and let's fall between white and blue. I mean, we've got the Moonshaker Cavalry here, which I'm not sure if I should keep in here, but yeah, we'll go for one step closer to being on triple white. And then we'll leave the creatures alone because we want creatures to play into our commander. We want to be able to activate Scry and draw when our hand is like this. And Enlightened Shooter for a Nixia, we'll put an enchantment on top. Or an artifact, decided to go for Sol Ring. Say Felidar Retreat for a Nixia. Then playing a land into the Felidar Retreat can either be a token or a plus counter. And decided to go for the Cat Beast. A Feasting Troll King into play now. If you cast it from your hand, create 3 food tokens, sacrifice 3 food, return it from graveyard to the battlefield. And there are 3 food in play now. Each can tap for mana thanks to the Jaheira. So tap the mana to sacrifice one of the foods, I think, there. And Sam will make another one. So this is obviously a food deck as opposed to a Ring Bearer deck. So our opponent wouldn't mind fully levelling up Frodo's Ring Bearer ability though. So coming in at us again. And Sam turns into the left. Then deciding to pull back, Frodo goes in at the left as well. Alright, so we get Sam. And our other opponent gets Frodo. Frodo triggers again. And it is noteworthy that these 2 creatures could gang up on the Frodo. So the Ring Bearer now is at level 2. Can't be blocked by creatures with greater power, so Sith is able to block there. And whenever your Ring Bearer attacks, you loot. Okay, now seeing a Mask of Memory likely to go on to the Frodo. So now we somewhat have our colours fixed. Wow, there's an Intruder Alarm, which unfortunately we won't be able to get down this turn. Maybe need to do a bit more colour fixing with regards to the lands. Got quite a few basics in the deck. But we might be able to draw into something this turn, you never know. Play out the Galadriel. And let's go after the Evolution Sage. So a creature enters, we will scry 2 and then draw. Alright, and that gets us into a Sylvan Library, which I don't mind. So scry Marwyn to think we've got enough mana dorks here, but having it in hand wouldn't be the worst. Yeah, we'll keep hold of Marwyn. Sylvan Library on top, so that we can play it this turn. So definitely just throw down the Sylvan Library immediately. I don't think anyone's going to go for a board wipe. Maybe this player will. 4 cards in hand doesn't seem as likely. I'm just going to go absolutely nuts here and go for the Elvish Archdruid. And if we end up going down to a board wipe, then so be it. Plus counter on each creature we control so that we can start proliferating with landfall. Start threatening some real damage. And then go into the left against the Nixthia, who, yeah, you can gang up with Sithis if you want to. Onto the Circle of Dreams Druid. Actually, yeah. Best not risk that. Now, ideally what we want to be able to do is make a creature on every single turn, which we have a couple of means of doing. But I have gone for a particularly permanence-based build in this deck because we've got, looking over at the deck list, I can't remember what the name of the card is now. Gone for a Primal Surge build, so we'll be able to just turn our library upside down straight onto the board, which I've done quite a few times with elves, but don't think I've ever made Bant elves before. Mondrak, Glory Dominus, going to bring double the tokens into play, so our opponent continuing to set up, making a land after that will make 2 beast tokens. Mask of Memory being equipped onto Frodo during the junk player's turn. Motivated Pony. Attacking creatures get +1/+1 till the end of the turn. If a food entered this turn, then it's +2/+2 instead. Getting a lot of additional mana from this legend here. And down to 4 cards in hand, we see Dina, Soul Steeper. Going to start chipping away at us when food tokens are cracked. So Sam making an untapped food. 1 mana still held up here, so may well want to crack the food and start draining us with Dina. So Frodo comes in at us now that we've started buffing our army. And everything else turning into the left, including Jaheira. Don't know if I'd risk Jaheira. Yeah, so pulling Jaheira back, the horse comes in at us as well. And with Motivated Pony on the stack, a food token is cracked, so it will be +2/+2 to the attackers. And there we see an Obscuring Haze. If you control your commander, you can do this without paying the mana cost. Prevent all damage that will be dealt by creatures your opponents control. I think that's what it says. I can't see it with that swirly thing over the text. Do it this way instead. Why would you want to be able to read a magic card? Prevent all damage that will be dealt this turn by creatures your opponents control. So that includes us. I was hoping that we'd be able to get rid of some blockers here, or some attackers, but no point blocking at all. Our opponent not making any blocks either, curiously. He could have ganged up on some stuff there, but decided against it. So we keep our Sylvan Library, which is really good. So draw into the Marwyn we knew was coming. And there's a land and a Viridian Shaman. Any artifacts? Probably the Mask of Memory. Let's keep all these. We'll just tap down the Priest of Titania in order to play the Verduran Shaman. And then we can scry 2 and draw with this. Shaman blows up the mask, like I said. A little bit less card draw there. And then a land definitely goes on the bottom. And an Elvish Mystic definitely goes on the bottom as well. Draws us into Quirion Ranger, so we've got all the mana in the world. We just need to get into some card advantage at this point. I think we're in for a penny, in for a pound at this point, so yeah, let's drop the Quirion Ranger. Maybe we just empty our hand. Go for triple green on the Galadriel this time. Play a forest, which we could arguably keep in hand. That will proliferate. So let's go Intruder Alarm as well, in order to keep all the creatures untapped. Noteworthy that this enchantment does affect all creatures, but it's a means of us making creatures on every single turn if we want to with the right cards. Maybe shouldn't go for Marwyn the Nurturer there either. Maybe could have waited on that for next turn in case we don't have a creature in the top 3, or we don't keep hold of the Sylvan Library. We could have scryed 2 and drawn again. Anyway, Intruder Alarm untaps all creatures on the battlefield, plus counter on each creature we control. And maybe could have done this after combat as well, if we were going to play it. Get that down after combat so that we can untap everything that swings in here. Mondrak can be made indestructible. We could force the issue though. So I'll take a couple of 5/5s and a 4/6 over here, and a 7/6 to the right. And we are totally empty-handed. So just a bunch of chump blocks occurring here. Doesn't have a single mana held up for the Mondrak to become indestructible, which he would need, so we ended up losing the Evolution Stage, trading it out for the Feasting Troll King, which I don't mind seeing the back of for now. Force him to get rid of some food tokens for that. Felidar Retreat, going to make another couple of tokens on landfall. Intruder Alarm, We'll untap everything. Wasn't too much of a mistake that we played this before combat, because just a matter of time before another creature comes into play. And now a Demon of Fate's design. Once each turn you may cast an enchantment by paying its life rather than paying its mana cost. And then you can buff this by sacrificing an enchantment as well. Eldest Reborn. Each opponent sacrifices a creature or planeswalker. Pretty easy for us. We'll get rid of the Viridian Shaman. Whenever another non-token creature enters under your control, put a food token into play, sack 3 of them, return a historic card from graveyard to hand. So they can grab back the Mask of Memory. The Gaffer is in the bin as well. And so is Dina. So I must have blocked with Dina previously on my attack as well. So I must have sacrificed Dina to the Saga over here. And now a Mirkwood Bat's going to start chipping away at us with those food tokens. A food token being sacrificed will ping us all for 1 with the Mirkwood Bats, as well as gain our opponent 3 life. And Mirkwood Bat's hitting us again, because at the beginning of combat Sam makes another token. And Frodo, turning into the left, can still only be blocked by the Sithis. Going up to level 3 will loot with the ring now that it is already level 2. And discarding to that a Frodo Baggins. The ring is level 3 like I said, so whenever your ring bearer becomes blocked by a creature, the creature's controller sacks it at the end of combat. So not reading that bit is going to lose the Sithis. Maybe our opponent was aware and doesn't care about Sithis. +1/+1 until the end of the turn with the Okina. So down goes Sithis, always good to see the back of that one. We'll be able to grab it back with the Eldest Reborn if he wants to at least. Alright, and we still have our Sylvan Library, so it gives us half a chance here. Alright, well there's some potential card draw. Can't really rely on it. Good to see Lightning Greaves. We'll keep all these against my better judgment. Right, now we should be able to trigger the Galadriel twice with Roaming Throne, so do we get that down first? Down Priest of Titania, we'll get the Lightning Greaves in first. Okay, and then that player decides to scoop for some reason. Not sure what's going on there, but it's just one of those games, apparently. They're all that kind of game, actually. Alright, so Lightning Greaves into play. Let's go for Elrond first, and I will not go for the Scry thing. So we'll just do the... we'll just do the plus counters now. Intruder Alarm, continuing to keep creatures untapped. So we could be making use of tap abilities if we needed them here. It just so happens that we've got into all of our Priest of Titania abilities early on. Marwyn the Nurturer puts a plus counter on itself. And then let's see about this Roaming Throne. And the Roaming Throne going to enter as an elf, which means it will double up the triggers. So Marwyn gets 2 plus counters. We'll add a little bit of mana with Galadriel as well as do the Scry 2 draw thing. Okay, 1000 Year Elixir and Findhorn Elves just... getting into all the mana. Maybe too much mana in this deck, I don't know. And because we scryed, Elrond is going to distribute plus counters, so we'll put one on the Roaming Throne and just put another one on Quirion Ranger. Then it is triggering again because of the Roaming Throne, so another 2 plus counters can be Llanowar Elves and the Quirion Ranger again. And now we have drawn into Gilt-Leaf Archdruid. How many Druids do we have in play is the question. We need 7 in play for that to be relevant. And this will be included as one of them. So 6 in play is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Yep, got a 7th one there, so we've got more than enough. Let's get down the Gilt-Leaf Archdruid then. Our opponent will still have green mana, thanks to the Jaheira and the food tokens. And Intruder Alarm does go on the stack, so we'll be able to activate the Gilt-Leaf Archdruid to steal the lands away, and then have them untap to the Intruder Alarm, so holding that on the stack, let's activate this, target our opponent. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Doesn't matter which 7 because the Intruder Alarm is going to untap them all anyway. So gaining control of all of our opponent's lands. So then, like I said, Intruder Alarm resolves and we can untap everything. And if we had multiple players at the table, we'd be able to do it again and steal someone else's lands. And then no one could play a creature into the Intruder Alarm because we'd steal someone else's lands, and that would be 3 players with no lands in play. Now the difference maker is that we are at 12 life, so got the Mirkwood Bats that can swing in over us. This can deal a bunch of trample damage. We do have big blockers in the way though, so maybe just encourage them to do some blocking here. I've got some 7/7 or a 7/7 dork 7/6, a 6/6, a 6/6. We'll turn in with our commander as well, which is currently an 8/8, and we'll hold the rest back as blockers and hope that it's enough. And our opponent decides to take it, so can maybe get us on the Alpha Strike. I'll just shove the Lightning Greaves onto the Elrond. Don't think it really matters. Yeah, obviously, we'll assume that he's going to get +2/+2 to the army here. I wasn't going to work it out. Anyway, Knight of Sweet's Revenge. Enters the battlefield, create a food token. Foods you control, tap for mana. They've already got that with Jaheira. It's the only reason that they can still cast spells. That's been the best card in the deck for this game, I think. It's also an overrun effect, this. 5, 6, 7. Creatures you control +X/+X, where X is the number of food you control. And we lose a life when they make a token with the Mirkwood Bats. So we go down to 11. They'll be able to crack a couple of food tokens, so that will drain us as well. Cracking one in response to Sam. So we go down to 10, gaining 3 to the food token. We know Frodo can get through, and we know the Mirkwood Bats can get through. So maybe that'll be enough. Oh, of course, and then they've got sacrificing the food for... Oh, they're using Samwise for that, for the Mask of Memory. Thought they were grabbing the Feasting Troll King back, but apparently not. So Samwise returning a historic card from graveyard to hand. So we're down to 7. And I think that means that the Mirkwood Bats and the Frodo alone can get us, which isn't affected by the fact that we swung in at all anyway. Go down to 6, must have cracked another food token, or one hadn't resolved yet. Oh, it was from the food entering from the Sam Loyal Apprentice. Right, so turning in sideways with everything. Frodo levels up the ring fully. +2/+2 on everything. And they draw and discard. Discarding a Righteous Valkyrie. Alright, so we've got no reaches, I don't think. That's a 9/9, blocking a pony. I'll just double check I don't have reaches. I don't think I do. Yeah, no reaches, so our opponent definitely has us here. Like I said, don't feel too bad about turning in sideways with those creatures because they're not getting us on the swing back. And there we are. Excellent. Our opponent gets us. We're probably getting him next turn anyway. Let's see if we can see what we were drawing into. Definitely would have got him with the Elvish Champion because it just so happens the land that he got into was a forest, so everything would have been unblockable there. Playing to the Elvish Champion, we scry 2 and draw. And there we are eventually getting into a Kindred Discovery, which would have definitely refilled our hand. Bit too late for that. Armorcraft Judge was on the way to refill our hand as well, so yeah, you can see that there is card draw in the deck. We just didn't really get into it there, but I'm quite happy with how this deck ran. Galadriel Light of Valinor was a pretty obvious ban elf deck to make, but I wasn't really sure what kind of direction to go, if I wanted to have a little bit of flicker and blink in here, or if we wanted to go full Crater Hoof aggro. I think Elves Crater Hoof aggro's kind of been done to death, but you sort of have to run Crater Hoof so that you can get a win out of nowhere in gummed up board states. Kind of changed my mind on the whole Primal Surge thing though, where we flip our deck upside down. I think the deck doesn't really seem to need that, although again that's a good way to get yourself out of a gummed up board state when nothing else is happening. Anyway, I'll have a look at the deck and tweak it a little bit. You can all view it in the deck list via the description below if you want to. Massive thank you to the patrons, including Terrax, and I will see you all in the next one, I hope. I'm tribalkai. Thank you for watching.